It started quietly enough on August 6, 2025, first a soft glimmer, a mere rumor in the darkness, noted far out in a cold lab. What initially seemed a standard cosmic sighting would go on to disturb the world of science. The James Webb Space Telescope, the world's greatest gaze in the universe, suddenly switched to emergency override. But it wasn't the result of a supernova or a black hole. It was something disquietingly local, a comet, or at least something pretending to be one. Known as 3I Atlas, the object was first categorized as another interstellar visitor, cold, distant, and predictable. But as Webb sensors homed in on it and streams of data started to pour in, wonder turned to incredulity. The readings were contrary to all established models. Its chemical composition was grotesquely out of whack, the elemental proportions nonsensical, and its behavior unpredictable. With increasingly more data coming in, a subliminal dread crept over the astrophysicists monitoring the feed. What if this wasn't a comet? What if it was something that was sent? The first indication of strangeness came from the object's coma, the glowing aura of gas surrounding its nucleus. 6 astronomical units from the sun, a comet should have been in hibernation, frozen, the solar radiation so weak it couldn't even rustle up a hint of activity. But 3I Atlas was alive and hellishly active. James Webb spectral analysis showed an atmosphere dominated not by water vapor, as one would expect, but by carbon dioxide, 8 times that of water. An 8-to-1 ratio wasn't merely unusual, it was impossible. Normal comets hardly approached 0.7, even the interstellar Borisov just reached 0.5. But this object was ejecting carbon dioxide with unnaturally high vigor, as if it had been designed to do so where no natural mechanism could. Worse was its coma, ethereal thin, almost free of dust or solid particles. The emissions were smooth, clean, intentional, highly selective gas release suggesting a chemistry foreign to our knowledge. As Webb sensors delved deeper, the findings became increasingly ominous. They identified solid, persistent spectral lines of nickel, thick, recurrent, and increasing in density as the object drew near. At 3.8 astronomical units, it released more than 10 superscript 2 superscript 1 atoms per second, by $2.85, that had increased tenfold. But what amazed scientists wasn't the nickel, it was the lack of iron. On every instrument, Webb, Gemini, the Very Large Telescope, iron was absent. Entirely. In every known comet and meteorite, nickel and iron are eternal mates, their proportion sealed, 1 nickel to 15 iron. But 3I Atlas broke this law of the universe with furious force, 40-to-1, nickel overrode iron. There is no natural mechanism to accomplish such segregation. To accomplish it in a laboratory takes machinery, energy, and intent. And here, floating quietly through space, was an object doing it naturally, or maybe on purpose. Even before the chemistry behind it could be accounted for, a new enigma developed. Pan-STARRS monitors observed that 3I Atlas was speeding up, not due to solar pressure or outgassing, but for no obvious reason. Within 72 hours, its velocity increased by 0.12 meters per second squared. That might sound insignificant, but for an 11-kilometer-wide object, it was incredible, like observing a cruise ship speed along a calm sea without engines. The motion wasn't even smooth. Experts picked up on jittering microjumps, rhythmic flicks superimposed over its path, as if something within it was switching on and off. Every 7.2 hours, the thing illuminated like clockwork and not haphazardly as falling rubble but in flawless mechanical timing. Some suggested a sunlight-reflected sheet, others speculated a rotating empty frame. But they all were in consensus, this was no rock, it was precision in motion. Science started to shake under the weight of what was left when explanations from nature did not suffice. If outgassing, chaos, and randomness were eliminated, what did that leave? The frightening possibility that 3I Atlas was constructed, engineered. Maybe not living, but a relic, a derelict probe from a civilization that died before Earth's first trees. Or worse, a device still functioning, obeying orders long after its creators were dead. No comet should stir in the deep cold, give off metallic nickel without iron, speed up without fuel, or glare in mechanical beat. But this one did, defiantly, in front of humanity's finest telescope. The James Webb override wasn't an error of technology, it was an edge of fear. An unspoken agreement, this was not usual. Perhaps, for the first time, we were looking straight at alien machinery. And even if it wasn't, the fact that we couldn't distinguish between it and an actual comet, that was a warning sign. Then new information made the mystery greater. Gemini South and the Space Telescope tests recorded photometric data with a light curve that brightened every 7.2 hours, in perfect harmony with its movement. Comets usually flicker irregularly as they rotate, but this was different, accurate, crisp, unshaking. The gaps were precise, the flashes sharp, like a beacon deliberately flicking on and off. Even as outputs varied, the beat remained constant, a metronome in the blackness. The pattern was too consistent, too defined to be accidental. Speculations ranged from a reflective sail, a turning platform, to a constructed surface. Whatever it was, however, the message was unmistakable: I am not what you expect me to be. The shift occurred at 21:11 Greenwich Mean Time on the 6th. Ground observatories were sending emergency notices, CO2 emissions through the roof, metallic intensity shooting up, velocity readings in defiance of gravity. That was when the James Webb's emergency override activated, silencing every cosmic observation to concentrate only on this anomaly. Such overrides do not happen often, expensive, disruptive, and saved for only the most peculiar occurrences. The approval was unanimous. At 21:17 Greenwich Mean Time, Webb acquired 3I Atlas, and the information pouring down was nothing short of historic. Rather than frozen comet fingerprints, the telescope detected volatile carbon chemistry, hyperactive, unnatural, extreme. The override was not only scientific, it was an alarm. The universe's most powerful observatory had just frozen time to pursue a machine. The farther scientists peered, the stranger the universe became. Nickel was all over it, iron had disappeared. Only a compound such as nickel carbonyl, which has a vaporization point of 43 degrees Celsius, could have produced the emissions, but even that did not include iron. The spectral signature was one that matched nothing ever seen, not Borisov, not Oumuamua, nothing. It was purposeful, like something designed rather than created. And throughout history, there were whispers of this same enigma. Meteorite iron in ancient Egypt was referred to as the metal of heaven. The dagger of King Tutankhamun had 11% nickel, unobtainable to ancient metallurgy but the same as meteorite alloys. Throughout Babylon and Sumer, artifacts containing nickel-rich nuggets emerged, their origins connected to stones from the sky. What if such artifacts weren't merely remains from meteors, but parts of something earlier, bits of an ancient visitor? And now, in 2025, that same signature had come back. While experts argued, another MIT scientist uncovered another chilling find. Buried in the heat radiation was a weak but repeating electromagnetic pulse, too regular to be noise, too weak to be intentional. Translated to sound, it showed a haunting pattern: prime intervals, Fibonacci ratios, harmonic sequences, patterns reminiscent of mathematics occurring in DNA, crystals, and sacred geometry. It wasn't sending a message, it was embedding one. A cosmic signature, readable to anyone, or anything, within range. Shortly thereafter, the planet itself started to react. Geophysicists detected ultra-low-frequency pulses in Antarctica, Argentina, and Western Australia, each repeating every 7.2 hours, the same as 3I Atlas's beat. The signals were not coming from outer space, but from inside the crust of the Earth, as if the planet was resonating, recalling. Might this frequency have been previously audible, millennia ago? Then came the news that chilled the scientific community to its core. Tracing its course showed impossible accuracy. 3I Atlas wasn't wandering, it was charting a course. Its path wound beautifully between planets, sidestepping every gravitational hazard as if with intention. Comparisons and simulations set its course against NASA's interplanetary probe trajectories, 92.6% alike. And to where? A thin passage past Saturn, maybe a null point of gravity, potentially even a gateway. Whatever its purpose, it appeared to be fulfilling it. Then, silence. As it approached $2.50 from the sun, the emission stopped. Nickel dissipated. CO2 ceased. The pulsing rhythms flattened. In 11 hours, 3I Atlas darkened. It didn't wander out of range, it powered down. Throughout observatories, the same verdict resounded: it had finished something. A transmission, an activation, or a test. And with that done, it powered down. But the tale was far from over. Trajectory reports later indicated it had altered course, not away, but towards a region between Earth and Venus, a region associated with satellite interference. It was not gravitational drift. It was piloting. 3I Atlas had remained. At MIT, neural AI analysis of its emissions indicated something even more horrifying: a structural pattern to the gas releases, a multidimensional helix resembling early RNA strands. Was it possible that it had been emitting coded biological templates, chemical blueprints instead of life itself? And then appeared the moon. Radar pulses reflected back prematurely, modulated, with the same interval as the pulse of 3I Atlas. Lunar records revealed similar patterns in Oumuamua's 2017 flyby. Something under the moon had replied, something very old. Weeks afterward, James Webb resumed its operation, but weak anomalies surfaced throughout deep space, periodic dimming in light from faraway stars, precisely following 3I Atlas's former course. 7 pulses, 7 silences. The suggestion was dire: it wasn't an object but part of a relay, possibly even a countdown. The James Webb hadn't simply imaged an interstellar visitor. It had witnessed the execution of a program, a cold, mechanical cadence ringing out across the solar system, from our moon to our center. 3I Atlas wasn't speaking. It was adjusting. Maybe not with us, but with something deeper buried, something in wait. And now, with silence reinstated, the ultimate terror dawns: this could not be our first contact. It could be an awakening. For perhaps, 3I Atlas didn't come. Maybe it was summoned. Subscribe, because next time, the sky won't warn us. It will simply answer.